Hi everyone, welcome back to Drone Novice. This is our third video in our series on how to build a drone. Today we'll be attaching our race light LEDs to our ESC. So our ESC is the bottom of this stack, the flight controller ESC stack here. It has lots of pads, about 14 pads, which are all pretty big to solder on. The flight controller goes on top. So first we're going to take our 2mm hex screwdriver and unscrew the top plate of our frame. This will allow us to get better access to the components inside. So now that we've done that, we can see we have clearly 4 screws right there. Our flight controller ESC stack comes with nylon screws already in, but nylon is not as strong as our metal screws here. So we're going to remove the nylon and put our stack on top of the screws here. So we'll take these rubber gummies and just put them onto our screws. They'll act as sort of a cushion. And as you can see, we have our ESCs clearly here. And now we just slide it on. And we'll do the same for the flight controller, but we'll do that later since we can remove the flight controller right now. So we want these two pads on this side to be facing the back, since that's how it's going to be in the actual drone. And it doesn't really matter which you want this side that has the sticker to be on the bottom. And it'll settle right there nicely like that. So now that we're done putting our ESC onto our frame, we want to attach it to these LEDs. So we're going to take our leftover wires that we used, that we cut off when we were attaching our motors to our LEDs, and we're just going to use those to attach our LEDs to our ESC, since they're already the same type of wire, and you don't need to purchase any extra. So first, before we solder on our motor wires, we're gonna solder up the battery pads. So these are the two pads on the right of the ESC. So all we're just gonna do is take our solder and our iron and heat it up. It may take a while for the pads to heat up, but that's just because they're like so big and attached to a lot of different places. So after you solder on those pads, you want to take your XT60 battery connector and solder the red wire onto the plus side and the black wire onto the minus side. So here you can see it's pre-tinned already, so we won't have to put much effort into tinning the pads of the wire. So all you have to do is just touch your soldering iron to the pad and then attach the wire to it. Now we're done with attaching our battery pads to our XT60 battery connector. So what we want to do is attach our motor wires to the pads of the ESCs. So you can see there's 3 on each side, 1, 2, 3. So we're just going to attach them to the 3 pads here. It doesn't matter which order you connect them in, since connecting them in the wrong order will just reverse the direction of the motor, and we can just change that online in the BLHeli software. And also make sure that before you attach the wires to the pads, you tin them so that they have a nice consistent flow. And once you're done with that, you should make sure you should only solder the motor wires first, then we can slip on this heat shrink tubing that we have. So now that we're done with these 3, what you want to do is take this heat shrink tubing and then wrap it around, and so that it's on top of the LED. But before you do that, just wait for it to cool down, because otherwise it'll shrink too quickly. And once you've wrapped it around, you just use a hot item to shrink it, such as a heat gun or a hair dryer. But in this case, you can just easily just use your soldering iron and watch it shrink in its areas. And then since that's done, it's all nice and tidy and it's not going to go anywhere, you can just solder the wires to the pads. And now we repeat for the other motors. Now we're done with our assembling our ESC to our LEDs. So in the future, we may zip tie the LEDs down so that they don't move. But for now, we can keep them like this. Make sure that you've heat shrinked all your LEDs so that they're insulated from the carbon fiber frame, since carbon fiber conducts electricity, and that none of your joints are touching. Thanks, and we hope to see you next time.